See if we're live. We're live. Um, Hi, everyone. How are you? Welcome to the Roycycled Treasures spring release marathon. I think I was just watching Kim. She was so cute, trying to get her project done. The sweetest planter box. I hope you're enjoying the marathon. And if for those of you that don't know me, my name is Michelle Adamas, and I'm the owner of Vintage Revival Design Co. I'm in Northern Virginia, and I am also a Roycycled retailer. All of the people on the marathon are also retailers. So anyway, thanks, Kim. And we've been having a really good time today with this. I'm so excited about the new release, and I hope you'll enjoy this project. I was trying to figure out what the heck I was going to do, and I wanted to try to choose a project that hopefully we can finish today. So anyway, I'm going to bring up my project, share the paper that I'm working with. So I am going to be working with the pressed flower Masterboard, and I've already done some prep so that we could complete our project. And I just think it's beautiful. The Masterboards have become one of my favorite papers because they're just so versatile. So many things you can do with them. So many different elements in one sheet. So I love those. And I always recommend starting with one of those if you're new to decoupage or new to projects, or you do a lot of collage or anything like that. So hi, Jan. Hi, Becky. Hi, Royce. Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for being here. So anyway, I've done this, and I thought that we would do a fun spring banner project on fabric with this paper. So this is the paper that I'm using. Again, this is the pressed flower Masterboard paper. It's really, really lovely. I still have so much paper left, and that's what we're going to do. So I want to show you how I got to where we're going to go. I took a scrap piece of fabric. Duck cloth works beautifully for this. I'm going to put my glasses on. And drop cloth is such an inexpensive, big bang for your buck, because you can get a huge sheet of it and be able to do a lot of different projects. I make pillows out of them, all kinds of decor, all of that. So I love it. But I started with a scrap piece of fabric, and then I created two templates. I created one that is 5.5 inches wide by 6.5 inches tall. I want to leave a little bit of an allowance to fold it over and have my string hanging. And then for the paper, I did one at 4.5 inches wide and 5 inches tall. And you'll see that when I give my seam allowance up here at the top, I'm going to have about a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch all the way around, and you'll see that. So then when I did that, I just traced this. So I put my template down, I used a pencil, traced it, cut it out, and then I decided we're going to spell the word spring. And so I did 6 of these. So I've got SPRING. Let's just double check myself before we get started. So the next thing that I did was up at the top, I drew a line down on the back at about 1 inch. And that's because I'm going to fold this over. I'm going to give myself an allowance for my string to go in the back. And then what I like to do is I just put a little pin on that line so that when we're working on the front of it, I'm not having to guess. I have a little bit of a guide as to where that top is going to be folded over. So I just want to say hi to Betty and Sandy and Jill and Chris and Sheila as well. Thank you so much for being here. The next thing I did with each of my squares is I coated this with 2 coats of fabric Mod Podge. Mod Podge. It is in the blue bottle, and I've been using this a lot. I really enjoy using it. And I did 2 coats, letting each dry in between. And this is so that we can do an iron-on method with our decoupage. Then I used that same template. I had them out here, and I used that template. I like to use these clear templates when I'm choosing my design because I can see exactly what I'm going to be cutting out. So for example, if I wanted to use this, I can move my template around and say, oh, do I want to get more of the butterfly and the fern? Do I want to highlight the butterfly? Maybe I just want a little bit of the wing. So I really like using this clear template. And again, this one is 4.5 wide by 5.5 tall. So once I had that, I have to keep listening for that beep for my iron. And yes, so you can use duck cloth or like drop cloth is what I meant to say, not duck cloth, but drop cloth. And you can get a huge piece of it at your, hardware store. And it's just, you can get so many projects out of it. So then I cut enough of my squares out. I went around the paper and I chose the different designs that I wanted to use. And I think I've chosen some really pretty ones. I think I've got a butterfly on just about every single one of them. And the next thing that I wanted to do was, if I just put this neutral paper against this background, it doesn't really pop. But what I like to do is ink the edges, because then it gives the paper a little bit of a frame, and we're going to be adding even more of a frame to this. So hi, Susie, how are you? Thank you so much. And Linda and Araceli, Betty and Shannon, and I hope I said hello to you, Sheila and Celestine. And yes, okay, so we are good to go. So let me show you what I mean by that, by inking my project or my paper. So I just take the paper and I use my ink pad and I go in a downward direction, and I just want to go on the edges. I can go back and forth. I don't mind if I get a little bit on my paper that is a little over the edge. I think that just adds a little distressing, and I think that's really nice. And so this just gives it a little bit of a frame, and all of a sudden that paper just shows up a little bit better on such a neutral background. So if you have any questions about how we got here, let me know. And so the next thing that I want to do is we're going to start ironing on our little bits here. And so I am going to go right here, because this is about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. I can always trim it if I need to. I'm working with a craft iron, a hot craft iron, which is just a little handheld iron. And I use this, and what I'm doing, I'm going right over my paper, but I really should have parchment paper. I think I forgot that. 1 second. Let's see if we are still, do I have any parchment paper in here? Okay, I am going to, I'm going to put this fabric over the top of it and see if we can do that. Parchment paper would be better because there'll be less of a barrier between the, the fabric is a little bit heavy, but I think this is going to work. Okay. So we're going to be doing this in kind of an assembly line motion, because I really want to make sure that we get through this. And Auntie B's attic is going to be up after me. And so I'm going to make sure, yep, that's on there. So you can see that we're able to iron these on without a wrinkle. And I've got my little marker here as a guide. I do have one little corner up the top that is not down quite yet, but you want to work, if you're using your household iron, you want to make sure to use a hot iron. I would use the highest setting, but you want to make sure there's no steam. So we're going to just quickly, you'll see how quickly this goes. We're just going to start getting all of these ironed on, and then we're going to be adding our words to this. I really like how something as small as inking on the edges works so beautifully. I have got to remember to put my barrier over. The reason you need a barrier is because you could easily burn your paper, and you don't want to do that. You could also run your iron in the process, and that would also be sad. So the blocks of fabric, I gave the size of my templates. The blocks of the fabric are 6.5 inches by 5.5 inches. And I make them a little taller just so that we have the allowance at the top to fold over our fabric and add our string or whatever we're going to hang these with. So we're going to quickly go through that. I wanted to get a bunch of these irons before I came on, but I did not. I was trying to prep for this. I'm just trying to center it on my little banner part there. And so I'm just putting, some nice pressure on it. And the Mod Podge for fabric allows you to do the iron-on decoupage method very easily. I'll show you the silicone spatula that I use to apply it. And then we will go from there. But I like using the silicone spatula to apply it. It looks like this and this because I can push down into those fibers and know that I'm getting really good coverage. And let's see. You need one of the mini irons. Yes, I really love mine. It's really nice to not have to drag out my great big household iron all the time. So I really like it. It's convenient. It just sits in my art cart and it's ready to go whenever I need it. And so I really enjoy using it. I can heat set ink with it and do all of that. So again, I wouldn't really recommend it'll go a lot faster if you use a piece of parchment paper, but that is the one thing I forgot. So I'm just glad I had a scrap piece of fabric as a barrier. So we're almost done with this part and then we'll lay them out. We've got just 2 more. So let's do these. And I just think this paper is gorgeous. I was really excited for this. I couldn't decide if I wanted to use the spring Masterboard paper or this one, but I'm really happy with what I chose. I love all the butterflies and any of the Masterboards that she comes up with. The spatula is, I do have an Amazon shop. If you go on my website at vintagerevivaldesignco.com, it'll say shop my Amazon favorites or shop my favorites on Amazon. And it'll take you right to the iron as well as to the spatulas are in there as well. I think the fabric, the Mod Podge is on there as well. Who knows? But I'm not sure. I haven't updated it in a while. So let's do this. We've got this last one. And then we'll go from there. Now you're going to notice that I'm not going to be sealing these right away. I'm going to be waiting until after the project is done because I'm going to be using a liquid vinyl. I want to be able to have the opportunity to hang this outside or inside. And so I'm going to protect it that way. And so you could also just use a water-based sealer. It would make it quite stiff though. So now we have these designs here. And what I want to do is decide how I want them laid out before I start adding my lettering. But aren't these beautiful? They're just the little blocks from the paper and I just love them. So I've got a little bit of a yellow in here. This one did not iron quite as well. And so I'll redo that one. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the yellow in here, just like this, I think. And we'll have this black one on let's see, how do we want to do this? I'll do this. And I think the parchment paper would just be so much better, but I don't have it. So we're going to go like this. And I think I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in the order that I want and we'll re-iron as we need to. So that's SPRING. So this is how I'm going to go ahead and keep myself together and straight. So I am going to take that other template that I did. This is the template that I did for the size of the paper. But first I need to do a little ironing again. This fabric is super thick. So again, use your parchment paper or a Teflon sheet or something like that. It's kind of I'm taking one for the team so we can get the project done, but it's kind of like better to take the advice instead of doing what I'm doing. And so let's see how we go there. Okay, that's a lot better. So this is my spring. So this is the letter S. I've laid them out in the order that I want. And now I'm using the Iron Orchid Designs typesetting stamp. It's a font stamp. And I'm going to be using to use for my mount or to apply it. I went ahead and marked a little center hole here with a Sharpie marker. Hello, Marie. So the links on my website for Amazon, they are fulfilled by Amazon, not me. It is just I participate in their affiliate program. And so it's just for convenience when people ask. and I might receive a little bit of a commission if you purchase from that link, but it doesn't cost you anymore. So I've got my S on here and I'm using that mark just to kind of center it. And now I'm going to be taking a brown ink. We are going to be adding, I've got to keep track of the time. You're so welcome, Marie. And so I'm going to be kind of using, because it's the same size, I can kind of line it up with my paper, and I've got the best chance of getting it centered on that design. So I've just laid my stamp down where I want, and I'm holding it with one hand and using the other hand to apply my letter to my stamp. And so we have that. But wait, there's more. We are going to do some more. So now that I have that, we're going to go on to the P. And again, I'm going to have to iron this on. I promise you that this Mod Podge works beautifully. It's just getting the heat through this heavy fabric is what's giving me the business. So, and I don't want to get up to go into the kitchen to get the parchment paper. So let me know if you have any questions as we go along. You're doing so great with that. I really appreciate it. I love the butterflies too, Susie, so much. I love the butterfly Masterboard paper and the junk journal blocks paper, and all of the Masterboards are really my favorites. Okay, so we've got that, and we're going to do the same thing with our P. I'm going to need to keep that piece of fabric really close. Again, I'm going to go ahead and line this up here, and I've done my center mark, and I'm just going to do the best I can to kind of, just do the best I can. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? We always say that, and then we're like, oh, no, it's not perfect, but I'm really okay with it. Truly, I'm okay. Thank you so much, Kim. You were so you were so sweet. I've loved your planter box. I can't wait to see it finished. And let's see, we're going to go. But I was watching to make sure that I didn't interrupt you or anything like that. All right, so now we've got that. We've got our P. And let's do our R. Again, I wouldn't have to be re-ironing these all the time if I had my parchment paper. I'll stop saying that. It just is what it is. I always forget something, and it's just the way it is. You try to prepare as best as you can, and there's always something I forget. All right, so I have that, and now we're going to do our R. Again, laying my template down. This template really, really helps. And then you can label it. And if you ever want to make several of these, you can. And I think the grids are super helpful because it can help you see if you've, try to get as centered as you can. And so I am not above using a pattern because why not, right? Again, just placing it down. You want to try not to shift. Hold it with one hand, use the other to get the ink in place, and then we're going to go right there. So let's see, we're at 6:22, and I'm doing pretty good, I think. All right, I think we're going to be able to get through this. And so SPRI. All right, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to need to come down a little bit. Just trying to center. So I've got 2.5 grids, and I'll just bring this one up just a little bit. That is pretty center. Whoops. Now this is a stays on ink. You could absolutely use IOD ink, and we'll be using that for something else. But I chose to use this one just because it sets up really quickly. And this is stays on ink, which is a solvent-based ink. Whereas the IOD just takes a little bit longer to set up. All right, we are almost done with the lettering, but you can see it's not difficult to do. And especially if you have the template, it really isn't difficult to do. Come over just a little bit. Okay, we've got that. We've got the end. Did I do that upside down? Yeah, no, I think I'm good. All right, it's going to be what it's going to be. All right, yes, Linda, I'm constantly forgetting something. Oh, you're welcome, Susie. Templates are really, really helpful for cutting out. And then I will have this again so that I can make others. I think I've got my N upside down. I'm not going to worry about it. We're just going to pretend that it is right side up, right? And we're going to go with it. You still know it's an N. And that's all that matters. Yep, it's totally upside down. That's okay. That is okay. All right, so we're going to go with the G. And now we are almost done with this. And I like to do these on, oh, that is definitely upside down. I love to do these on tags, whether they be cardboard or wood. They're fun, but I thought let's do one on fabric because I don't think I've shared that one with you. And so I thought that would be a fun one to do. All right, so now we're going to line up our template, eyeball it. It's a little crooked, so I'm going to just twist it a little bit. Okay. And we're going to go from there. Okay. There we go. So now we have our letters out, and that makes it one of a kind. I love your thinking. Thank you so much, Cheryl. I really appreciate that. So now what we're going to do, so just for those of you that join later, these are the two templates, one for the fabric and one for the paper. And you can see that in the beginning if you just watch the replay on this. So this is going to be folded over at about here with my string. But before I do that, I just wanted, I don't know, I wanted to add a little color. It is spring, and I think it's certainly pretty just neutral, but I thought, why not add a little bit more? So I couldn't decide if I wanted to use the Iron Orchid Designs ink in Newgrass or if I wanted to try something else. So let's just try something else and we can see if it works for us. I think I got a few colors. I got out a few colors of little tubes of acrylic paint. And I thought, I see some of this yellowish green in here, quite a bit of that. And so I thought, oh, that could be really pretty, different shades of green. So I think what we're going to do is just try a few. And I wanted to try doing something with either the crackle stamp, or I've got this little piece of, this is just a piece of shelf liner from the Dollar Tree. It comes in a giant roll, and I cut it up in several pieces and use them. So I'm going to need a brayer for this, which I have. Good for me. I actually did that. I think I'm going to try this green, and I'll just mix a little bit of it with a little bit. Let's see if I can get maybe a little bit of the brown in there. And that one's not even open. I guess I've never used that one before. These are just little inexpensive tubes of acrylic paint, and those will do really well too. I'm going to get a little palette knife and just mix this up a little bit. And I may need a little bit more of a yellow green. Let's just add some, whatever we get. We're just going to go with what we've got. I think the green will make sense. This is a much brighter green. I'm just mixing some colors. I don't have an exact match, and I've got way too much brown in there, but I am getting that more kind of an olivey green, which I think is really pretty. So let's just go ahead and add a little more of this, more of that bright green, until we just get something that we like. And then, knowing me, I won't be, if I have to mix more, I won't be able to get more on there, but we're just going to go ahead and let that go like that. And what I'm going to do is roll my brayer into the paint, and then I'm going to roll it on to my shelf liner. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to press it along my edges. And so we're just going to decorate a little bit of the edges of this, and I'm going to press it here. I don't mind if I get a little on my my paper. I think that's fine. I think it kind of ties it in, but I do love that. And just, I'm kind of stamping it a little bit around the edge just to give it a little more interest, right? And I'm going to go ahead, in case some of it comes up here, I'm just going to push that. I'll add a little bit more right now what I'm really doing is just making a great big mess, which is fine. It's fun. And I'm not worried about the back. I'm sure I've got paint on there. I could always use this color and paint the backs. But now I've just got a little bit of kind of like a distressed paint edge on there. And I think that's really nice. And then the next thing that I want to do on this is I want to go ahead and ink the edges of my fabric. And so I'm going to use that same brown paint, and that paint is wet. But for this, I'm just going to go ahead and just run it over the edges of my fabric. And again, it's just going to add even more distressing to this and a little more interest. And all of a sudden, it really doesn't resemble a drop cloth. But I'm just going to run that. You could also just use a little bit of brown paint, whatever you have. But now we have this. And so this is what they look like. And I need to check the time. It's only 6:30. We are doing so good. I think we can do just a couple more and before we start folding them over. So I'm going to lay this one aside to dry, and we'll go ahead and work on this one as well. I've got to iron again. I'm going to have to turn on this iron. It is driving me insane, y'all. So let's go ahead and I forgot my parchment paper. Let's go ahead and do this. The acrylic paint does dry pretty quickly. So your little piece of shelf liner is going to get a little sticky. And I just turn it around a little bit, back and forth like this. Let's get that up here so you can see. I like just all kinds of odd things. Bubble wrap is a fun texture thing. You could also use a texture stamp, anything like that. I thought about just stamping them before I put on the paper, but I thought, gosh, you know, it's just kind of a waste because you're not going to see under the paper. And also I didn't want any of that to bleed through the design. And so these aren't going to be exactly the same, but we're going to have a little bit of texture on all of them. And I think it's just a fun look. And you won't see really, part of this is going to be folded over. I want to just make sure that I've got there. So again, it just gives it a fun little look. So we're going to set that one aside. And then we're going to do this one, and I've got to ink the edges on this one. So I'll need to do that too. I can always do that at the end. So I've got a little bit more, and I'm going to have to mix some more of this up. And again, I won't get the same color probably, but we'll do the best that we can. So again, we're just kind of stamping, and I'll just kind of let this one kind of go a little bit more over the paper. I kind of like that a lot. And thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate it. And definitely just try different things. Try bubble wrap, try plastic wrap in a ball, and, you know, use that for texture. But I really love this. I really, really love this shelf liner. I just think it's super fun. Okay, so we're going to do that. I might just do a little bit of stamping in here. We're going to have more or less in different places. This is just really dry. So let's go ahead and mix some more up, and we can do that. So to seal these, I'm going to be using a product. It's by Heat and Bond, and it's called Liquid Vinyl. And I've used it on many fabric projects and really, really enjoy it. This time I'm just going to do the tiniest bit of brown and see if we don't make out a little bit better. Then I remember having a little bit of this color, or it was probably the darker color, but that's okay. We're going to see what we get. Okay. And then we're going to mix this up. This one's much brighter. Just mixing it with a palette knife and I did pretty good getting the same, and it's okay if it's a little bit different. So, oh, thank you, Linda. Same. It's nice I really enjoyed that time in Colorado. It was really a lovely experience and so fun to just create with so many people that also love to create. Really enjoyed it. And of course, seeing Carmen's Place has always been on my list of things that I wanted to do. And so I was super excited to get to do it. So I think one of the things I'm going to need to do is to get another little piece of this if I have it. I'm not sure. I do have a little piece. So I'm going to go ahead and get a new piece because that one's just it's just picking up the dried paint, really. It's not doing much to help me. So we're going to do that and then just stamp along. Again, I'm not concerned about getting it on my paper. So you get the idea on this, and I'll have to take a photo probably of the finished piece because I think I want to add some little beads or something like that on the string, but I'm not sure. So let me go ahead and ink the edges on these. I'm not doing too bad on time. Yes, Cheryl, it was wonderful. I've always wanted to see Carmen's Place in person. It was even more magical than I imagined. And she's just one of the most creative and generous and kind people that I've ever met. So I really enjoyed that time. And I'm so glad that I did it and was able to go. It was such a joy. And I met so many people that I've, like you, I've always only met some of them, online. So you bought some, oh, is it the shelf liners, Royce, that you bought and haven't had a chance to try them? So we've got, let's see, the N, that's done. Let's do this one. And then I'm going to show you, I'm definitely going to get out my parchment paper when we're done and finish these so that you can see how that works, or so that they'll be secure. Because it's coming up, and that doesn't happen with the Mod Podge. So, okay, let's do this. All right, let me run my fabric over this again, see what I can do. I've got it heated up. I'm going to go right over this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will end up taking pictures of this. Oh, the liquid vinyl. Yes, I love the liquid vinyl. It does make it, you definitely have that vinyl feel on your piece, but I really like it for the protection and to make something wipeable. So I've used it on several things. So one of the things that I want to do is, even though I think this is pretty, those of you that know me know that I love my diamond glaze, y'all. I love it. I love it. And I use it on so many things. So this is Diamond Glaze by Judikins, and it's a dimensional adhesive. And when applied, like we're going to do it today, it actually gives an underglass effect. And so I'm going to put this one right next to this so that you can see the difference. Now, this is going to have to dry overnight. I like to pour mine into a needle nose bottle because it gives me a more precise application, and it's a little easier to control for me than brushing it on. So what I do is I squeeze, and I'm going to outline my letters and fill them in. And what is going to happen is the letters are going to have a 3D effect. And I'm just tracing along my stamped letter, filling that in. And when that dries, the letter is 3D and it's like it's under glass. So I really, really, really love this stuff. I use it all the time. I'm so surprised that somebody doesn't say, oh my gosh, she's using that again. But I love it. And when you find something that you love, you use it and you have to share it, right? Okay, so we are going to do this. I wanted to be able to show you this, but it is going to have, like I said, it's going to have to dry overnight. So I'm doing the last letter in it. So I don't think that you can see much of that on the camera like that, but you're going to get this kind of glass effect if I turn it like that versus the flat effect that you're going to get like this. So that is something that I really, really love. And I just think it makes a nice, again, it just adds another dimension to your project. I'm going to go ahead and please, please, please don't shy away from the Mod Podge for fabric because of what I'm experiencing here. Again, it's just because I need a much thinner barrier than what I've got right now. Okay, so we're going to do this. All right, so we've got this, and the next thing that I want to show you is how we're going to go ahead and address our top. So I cut a piece of jute, and I may end up, like I said, taking this off and going ahead and adding some beads. We'll have to see how this really lands in the final picture. But what I like to do is I use this line right here as a guide because I want my string to go in. So this is 1 inch. This little line is 1 inch from the top. And what I want to do is fold it over so that the edge meets this line. And so I'm going to go ahead and take out my pin and I'm going to lay my string in there just to be sure. And I'm going to flip it over just so I can make sure that I'm about right because I want this to be as equally framed by the fabric as possible. And so I'm so glad you could see that, Cheryl. Okay, and then I'm just going to remove this real quick and I'm going to press this down. Oh no, that'll make my fabric stick. Okay, so I really did need that parchment paper, y'all. All right, so I'm just going to do the best I can to put a little crease in here for myself. And then I'm going to be using clear gel. This is tacky glue. And I'm going to just put a slight bead up at the top. It's almost empty, so I've got to really squeeze hard. But I'm going to put a slight bead right up at the top. Like this. Okay, and I'm going to use that little spatula just to kind of get it on the edge. I don't want it to squeeze out toward the bottom because I don't want the hole to keep me from doing my string. And I can always thread that string through at the end. So what I have are these tiny little clamps. You guys, I found the funnest things at Five Below. And so if you have a Five Below near you, go and check out what they have. They have heavyweight watercolor paper and silicone mats and these tiny little, these are some of my new favorites. These are tiny little clamps. And I'm going to put a couple right here. One definitely on the edge. And then I'm going to press these down. What I want to do is make sure that I don't put too much glue so that it comes up into here and then I can no longer thread my string. So this is, I mean, I would figure something out if I had to. I'd just glue the string to the back. But if I don't have to do that, I don't want to do that, right? So I'm going to, they're going to set up like this. I just did bend my paper a little bit, so I'll fix that. Again, I'm going to be re-ironing all of these when we're done and I've got my parchment paper. All right, so I'm just going to let these sit. You could also just put a heavy book or something like that on them. There is a tape that I really love. It's a no-sew, it's like no-sew hemming tape, but I only had the thick width. And so I didn't want to use that, but it is, I'll be sure to share that tomorrow. So anyway, this is what we're going to be looking like. They will all string together, but let me show you, let me make a little bit of room here and I can show you what we're doing. And then I think we can also, I wanted to add even just a little bit more. I think the brown is okay on the edges, but I think I want to try something different. So this one's drying. And so we've got the pea, and the eye. So you can see how it's going to be a little bit different from what we started with. I'm going to put that G over, but you can see that we've got the R here and it's okay. But once we added the little bit of green texture to it, I think it made a really nice difference. And so it's okay that I have the brown ink on the edges, but what I think I want to do is just brighten things up a little bit. And so this is going to be a different shade of green. And I'm going to take this green and I'm just going to randomly go around and we're going to brighten this up just a little bit. So it's going to, now we've got those two shades of green. So we've got the acrylic paint and then we have this new grass, which is just really brightening it up. And I think I like that better than the brown, although you can still see the brown. It's even just a little more and we're brightening it up. And I think that's really pretty because we do have some yellow greens in the paper and we've got some other greens. So I think it's just a really nice contrast and adds just a little bit more. And then I think I'm trying to think, I think what I want to do is use just a little bit. I've got to keep turning my cart around because everything's all over the place, right? So yes, Rose, I really like that it's got so many greens. So I'm going to be sealing this, Betty, with it's called liquid vinyl and it is by Heat and Bond. And I like it, especially doing where I really like to use it is on anything that I might want to use outside and also anything that I want to be wipeable. So I covered a toolbox inside of it, redid the fabric in it, and I wanted that to be wipeable. So I sealed that fabric with the liquid vinyl and it makes a huge difference. One coat makes it water resistant and stain resistant, but when you add 3 coats of that to it, it actually gives more of like an oilcloth effect. So I love that. So this is a crackle stamp. It came in a big 12 by 12 sheet and I like to cut them up in small pieces. You could also get this and a few other textures in the Vintage Textures stamp by IOD. But if you don't have a crackle medium, don't want to use the crackle medium, anything like that, a crackle stamp is another great way to go. But what I do like to do is, this is too square and this would be a really hard edge. So what I like to do on things like this is just kind of cut it in little pieces, like little circles, things like that. Just kind of an odd shape. I don't really want there to be any harsh lines. And so I just cut these little pieces up. I took a big 12 by 12 sheet and cut them up in a bunch of little shapes, and I keep them in my art cart in various sizes. And then they're always here to pull out. All right. And so we're just going to add the slightest bit of, let's pray that I'm not going over the top here and that I'm going to be like, have you ever done a project and you're like, you should have just left well enough alone? But we're going to go for it and see what we think. Okay. I'm just going to so we've got this eye here and I'm going to do the slightest bit of crackle on it in various places. And I like doing it in that bright green. And so you can see here we've got a little bit of crackle. Here we've got it. So I just think it has like a lot of really nice texture to it. And I think don't hold me to it, but I think this is where I'm going to stop with the individual, is to go ahead and we'll put our paper on and we'll stamp. We'll do one more of the diamond glaze letters here. And Kim, if you're still here, I'm so sorry because I think I'm going to finish just a couple minutes early and I could have just given you the extra time. So, but this will give you guys a chance to, I don't know, get something to drink, take a little break, come back, and then it's going to be Aunt Bee's attic after this. And I'm so glad, Sharon. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying it. You could do this. You could just make a banner out of one sheet of fabric. It doesn't have to be in little pendants. It doesn't have to be a pendant style. You could do, I really like making little cosmetic bags and totes with this technique, something like that. Probably it's best, especially if you're going to be using diamond glaze and acrylic paint and all of that. I probably would not recommend that you do it like on a pillow cover or something that you're going to want to wash maybe frequently if you have pets like I do. So you might not want to do that, but certainly on something like a tote, something that really just needs to be wipeable, using that heat, that liquid vinyl by Heat and Bond is really great. So this is where we're at. So we've got all of these. I'm excited to finish. I hope that you are enjoying the marathon. I'm going to pull this up. I hope that you are enjoying the marathon, that you're getting lots of inspiration. And I'm just so glad, Pamela. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining me and all of the other creators. I'm excited to see what everybody else, we never know what anybody's creating. It's not like we say, oh, well, I'm going to use this paper and do this, or I'm going to, and what always amazes me is that everybody comes on here, does something amazing, and it's completely different. So, yeah, I think that's one of the funnest things is just to see what everybody's doing and just to get the inspiration and give you ideas for creating. So you may not want to do a spring banner on fabric, but maybe you'll want to do another fabric project, and this will help you get started. So anyway, thank you, thank you, thank you, Royce and Lexi, for hosting the marathon. I'm just so excited. This was really, really, really fun. And yeah, that's it. Happy creating, everybody. And again, I'm Michelle with Vintage Revival Design Co. I would love it if you would follow me on either YouTube, it's Vintage Revival Design Co. LLC on YouTube, or Vintage Revival Design Co. on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And anyway, thank you so much. I'll be sure to post a picture of the finished project. Take care, everybody. Good night.